All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Ranger Minded Podcast. As usual, my name is Steve Zimmerman, and I'm actually trying something new tonight that I've never ever done before, and apparently nobody cares. I've also just started doing a Instagram live at the same time. Now you can follow us on Instagram at Range Minded Podcast. So tonight I wanted to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. And yes, Nick is still part of the podcast. In fact, I was just texting him earlier tonight. Uh, we both just been stupid busy. There's a lot of stuff going on. We've regrouped, and we'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming. I promise. I promise. Hopefully, I don't make a liar out of myself. Anyway, something I wanted to do tonight, and I'm not quite sure how long this show's going to go for, is I wanted to talk about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Now, if you guys recall, last year, Kyle Rittenhouse, as a 17-year-old, went to Kenosha, Wisconsin. There was a bunch of BLM riots. Or, no, that wasn't BLM. It was some other... Jacob Blake. I think that's what it was. Jacob Blake riots going on. Obviously, if you remember from any of the footage, there was, burned out cars, knocking out windows, crazy stuff going on. Not a protest, not anywhere near peaceful as what they might say. Fires, burning down buildings, complete rioting, destruction of personal property. It was a mess, a big mess. Kyle Rittenhouse went there with some other friends to take care of a auto dealership. I've heard conflicting reports. From what I understand is he worked for the dealership or something, somehow connected to the dealership. They were just defending the property on behalf of the dealership owners, and there was a couple different locations. He did take a firearm with him, which there's part of the problem as a minor. Taking a firearm across state lines, I guess there could be some issues. But then I've also heard that he did not take the firearm across state lines. Anyway, I have been listening to the trial live as best that I can. Usually I just listen while I'm working. I'll turn on Facebook Live, usually through Ben Shapiro's stream, and then I'll listen while I'm working, which I tend to get pretty distracted and incredibly annoyed at the prosecution's lack of intelligence, I guess, to say the least. But anyway, I decided I wanted to talk about a few things. I guess we could be takeaways from the Rittenhouse trial. The very first one is, and maybe this will make some people upset, at least as far as I'm concerned, one of the most important things is don't go looking for trouble. I understand that he wanted to help out. He wanted to help the community. The police were kind of limited in what they could do, and I imagine in his eyes, now that's not something he said, but that's just some observation from my point of view, and decided to defend some property. Now, if you remember back, if you're as old as I am, you remember way back in the time machine, the Rodney King riots, and we had roof Koreans hanging out on top of shops with rifles defending their personal property, which is a different thing than volunteering your time to defend somebody else's property. Personally, I probably wouldn't have done it unless it was a very, very good friend or relative. I would not have spent my precious time risking my life and the security of my family and the well-being of my family to go defend somebody else's property. I think it's a mistake and it's a waste of time. But that's neither here nor there. We can't change that now, can we? And Kyle, I assume Kyle regrets it. But what happens when you assume, I suppose. So I don't know if you've been paying attention to the trial or not. I tried reading some reports. Usually when I do some show prep, I'll go looking at other people's websites. Like, when I say other people, I mean other perspectives, usually less gun friendly than others, and just to see what their perspective is. And I don't even remember what website I was on. It's still pulled up on my computer in the little tab, but man, I read about 2 paragraphs of their journalisming, as Shapiro likes to call it, and it it was painful to read because there was no no reporting. It was strictly opinion, and obviously that's missing in the United States, missing a lot. So I didn't close the window, but I read through it, and they were talking about. I can't remember that one guy's name. He's got kind of a weird speech impediment, but he's a photographer, an amateur photographer, um, who was bullied into trying to change his statement by the prosecution before trial. And he straight up said that he felt very intimidated to change his statement and to add a few things, and then he decided to lawyer up at that point. And I'm kind of going in the weeds on this one, aren't I? But in the report of I can't remember whatever newspaper I was reading, man, it sounded like it was all just a lie, and he had been coerced by the defense to do a bunch of stuff. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Can we just report what was in the trial, and then we can decide what the hell's going on ourselves? Apparently not. So yeah, very very first thing, don't go looking for trouble, which should be obvious. Look about look, oh, man. Slow down, Steve. Let's take a minute and talk, shall we? Just diagnosing your daily life. You might go to the gas station in the morning on the way to work, get a burrito and an energy drink or whatever, maybe fill up on fuel. When you're there, you're not being belligerent. I hope you're not looking for any kind of conflict. That would be silly. That would make you the aggressor for one thing. Should you go or should you, as you go to the gas station or grocery store or whatever, be looking out for trouble? Yes, absolutely. But don't be the trouble. And if you know there's going to be an issue at a bar or a nightclub or whatever, don't go. Don't be a part of it. Because as we see in Rittenhouse's case, it can turn pretty bad for you, especially if you have to use your gun in defense, which I absolutely 100% believe it was in self-defense. And if you've seen the little video floating around of the dude that he vaporized his bicep, who pointed his Glock 27 at Rittenhouse, you would know, hey, that guy's a jackass, and Rittenhouse had to shoot in defense. What's up, Chandler? Welcome. Welcome. Now invite your friends. Gosh. Anyway, again, if you're just tuning in or whatever, I'm doing a live on Instagram as well as recording the podcast. So you're kind of a part of the show. It's the first time we've ever tried to do this. Anyway, yeah. So one of the defense's number one witnesses blew a hole through the prosecution's witness. One of the prosecution's prize witness just sunk that ship for the prosecution when basically said, yeah, I pointed my gun at Rittenhouse's head and he shot me. So he's kind of a jackass. All right. Second takeaway I've got so far from the Rittenhouse trial is, if or when you decide to carry a firearm for protection, or honestly pepper spray or a knife or a baseball bat, which I don't recommend. If you do that, you get in trouble. For defensive purposes, you need to understand that there's a couple different commitments that you need to make before you leave your house. First of all, you need to make that mental commitment that you may have to use that defensive tool. Every time I put on my gun and take my knife with me, I understand that there may be a time, or that might be a situation that, there we go, stupid phone. There might be a situation where I have to use that implement in self-defense, and I have to make sure that I am willing to use that. And also, along with that mental preparedness and commitment, I need to understand that if I use that, whatever tool I'm using, there will be a trial, and I will go to jail at some point and hopefully be exonerated and be found not guilty, and that be use in defense. I guess that kind of goes along with the first issue. If you're going looking for trouble, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to say, "Hey, I was just using this in defense." If you went to that place where you knew there was going to be trouble, it's going to be tough. But making that mental commitment, saying, "I am willing to use this in a defensive situation," is far greater than what people think. I know we've talked about this on the show before. If you're a listener to the podcast, we've had a couple different episodes about making the commitment of using that gun or knife or whatever. You need to understand that you could take a life. The possibility of you taking a child from parents, or a parent away from children, is real. Now, again, we're not looking for trouble. That's not what I'm saying. I do not put my gun and think, yeah, I'm going to kill somebody today. That's not the way it works. But what you need to make that commitment is that you're willing to do that if the need arises. I think people take that for granted. I've spent a lot of time selling guns in my life, and I've talked to a lot of people that think they can use a gun. And I'm not talking capabilities and understanding of how the firearm works, but using a gun to take a life in defense. I don't think that they understand that commitment. And I mean, there's lots of stories out there where people have had to take a life and they've had to move out of the house. They've had to go to counseling, which I mean, that's reality. I think if you had to take a life, it should cause you some kind of anguish, because if it doesn't, there's a whole nother issue, and you probably shouldn't be using a gun or carrying a gun or a self-defense tool anyways. So you need to make that commitment. Now, let's jump back. Did Kyle have that fortitude, I guess? I don't think Kyle really understood the importance. I think he understood he needed to take a gun for defense. Yeah, I think he understood that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken the gun. But I don't think he fully weighed the potential of using that firearm in defense, and what would happen in the long term. Something I was really disappointed in listening to some of the trial was that some of his family and friends told him, "Hey man, you just need to go in hiding. Don't say nothing. Just vanish." That's not cool. One way to say it is the first person that calls the cops is the victim. So one thing Kyle, I think, did do good. Hey Leroy, what's up, man? One thing that Kyle Rittenhouse did do good. Man, that sounds terrible, grammarish. Is he approached the police as soon as something happened, within reason. Now, I wouldn't recommend rushing a police checkpoint with an AR-15 in your hands. In fact, they had one of the police officers in the trial say that he was very nervous, which I completely get. But at least he tried to make contact with the police, and then a couple days later, he actually turned himself in. But I think it's important that you understand, if you're carrying a knife, pepper spray, or whatever, and I know that some of you understand this, that you understand the consequence that could happen from using that gun in defense. All right, one of the other takeaways that I got from this is how quickly danger can come from any direction at any time. If you've seen any of the footage from the Rittenhouse incident, let's just call it that. Obviously, he was in a place that he shouldn't have been, probably, and there was danger everywhere. Everywhere you could turn, there was people with rocks. Apparently, they were making gas bombs, throwing them. When I say gas bomb, I don't mean like gasoline, but they had mixed chlorine and something else and was trying to gas out whoever was defending that car lot up on top of the roof of the building there. So there was danger everywhere. And though we may not think of it in our lives, we should be living our lives with the assumption that danger can be anywhere at any time. You tell me, you walk through Disneyland, or you walk through Walmart or Home Depot or wherever where there's lots of people, a football game, a college football game, danger can come at any time, at any place. You bump somebody, spill their beer, they're going to be pissed, right? Um, you just need to understand that and keep your head on a swivel. So if you understand Cooper's color codes, uh, we're not going to live in the white. We don't want to be that place, because if we don't understand or have any kind of situational awareness, we may just black out completely and not know what to do. We should be living in orange or red. Hopefully not red, but we should be living in I guess orange or yellow. Anyway, if you know what I'm talking about, look up Colonel Cooper's color codes. Pretty awesome. Uh, we use the gas station analogy, like you're not looking for trouble or you're keeping your head on a swivel. We talk about situational awareness in some of our other shows. What are you doing as you go to restaurants with your family, or go to the mall, or in those other places we mentioned earlier, where you're paying attention? Or are you paying attention? Or are you stuck on one of these stupid phones checking out your Instagram feed or your TikTok feed or whatever hell else you're stuck in, instead of really paying attention on what's going on? Recently, we had a mall shooting in Boise. Maybe you heard about it. I don't know. Tragic, terrible, right? In fact, one of the security guards lost his life. Pretty awful. I've walked through that mall. In fact, last time I was there with my son, well, my whole family, my son and I, sorry, Boise, we hate that mall. I hate that mall with a passion. Um, we would just sit on the benches in the main causeway, walkway area, public area, while my wife and daughters would go shopping. And we decided to count how many people were not looking where they were going, but instead on their phone. And I will tell you, a vast majority were on their phones and not paying attention to what the hell was going on around them. If you carry a firearm or anything in defense, you cannot be that person. If you are the alpha male, I'm the protector of my family, you cannot be that person. Put the damn phone away, pay attention to what's going on. And I just received a text message because I didn't turn off my computer. But yeah, you gotta be the dad. You gotta be paying attention. We kind of mock the old people right now when well, in my day we wouldn't have ever done that. And you know what? That's right. They wouldn't have ever done it, even if they had the capabilities, because our parents, our grandparents especially, who had to work for a living and bring bread to the table, didn't have time for distractions. They had to worry about how to provide for their family, and we as fathers or mothers or whatever, as providers in our homes, we need to stop being distracted, and understand that dangers can come from anywhere. And I don't just mean physical dangers. I guess this dangers can come from anywhere. This could apply to social media for our families, our kids. I don't mean to get preachy, but I'm going to. Uh, look at what social media has done to the generation ahead. Look, our future leaders. You tell me, as you go to some stupid restaurant or anywhere that the kids hang out nowadays. Man, that really makes me sound old. Um, and tell me you're excited about the future generation and our leadership for our children and grandchildren. I fear, because they don't understand nothing. And well, hard times create good men, right? Good men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times, or something of that effect. Anyway, all right. The fourth thing that that I was kind of making an observation from the Rittenhouse trial, is, and maybe this will sound pretty callous. Like, I don't know, is you need to understand whatever platform that you're carrying for your defense, whether it be a knife, pepper spray, nunchucks, whatever the hell you're carrying, don't carry nunchucks. You need to understand that platform, which I believe Kyle Rittenhouse understood his platform that he was using. He or he was just pretty damn lucky. But I think he understood how to use an AR-15 fairly well, better than the people reporting on the case for sure. Anyways, so what are you doing to prepare or to understand how to run the platform that you're using? Have you taken an OC class? If you run pepper spray, do you understand that if you use your pepper spray in a windy area, that you might be the recipient of the OC? If you're running a taser, do you know how to use that damn thing? A cane, a knife, or your firearm. Do you understand how to use that in a stressful situation? Now that means more than just taking one class. I've taught a lot of people how to use guns. I've taken a lot of classes on how to use a firearm. I would not say that I am the most proficient man in the world, but I understand how to tap rack if I got an issue. I understand how to move. You will not get that from one class. You will not. If you're getting that in your enhanced concealed carry class, I would be extremely surprised, and you probably paid a lot more than what most people did. You're not getting that in a standard basic handgun class. Honestly, you're not going to get that in a basic carbine class or a basic shotgun class. I've been doing a lot of knife stuff with our friend Adam Boyce. I've been trying to do that weekly, and every time I go to that weekly class, I feel less able with my skills, because the more I learn, the more I realize how much I do not know. And the same thing goes with any platform that I might be using or you might be using in your defensive life. So understand that platform. Learn how to feel when that gun goes dry and you need to feed it another magazine. Learn how to overcome any kind of malfunction, which is really easy to do in a dry fire drill. But you tell me how easy it is when you're under at least a clock or any kind of pressure trying to manipulate that gun, and you'll understand your skills probably suck and are substandard. Let's see, where was I? Really, the last thing I could come up with, and I know there's more. When it comes to defense, it's probably better to be lucky than good. I think Kyle Rittenhouse was one lucky son of a bitch. He shouldn't have been there. We already talked about that. That could have ended really, really poorly. In fact, I honestly don't know how he didn't end up dead. Honestly, I think he was lucky. If you've been listening to the trial or if you've seen any of the videos, he got smacked in the back of the head with skateboards. People tried to kick him. He got chased around. He was pretty damn lucky. To be able to use that firearm, and I can't even pronounce the last guy's name, the dude, he shot his arm. I think those were lucky shots. Had he missed by a fraction of an inch, he'd be dead. I really do believe that. So, how does that relate to us in our lives? Now, if we're going to plan, have a safety plan or defensive plan in our lives, we can train and train and train, which I recommend, right? Not because I want to sell classes, but because I think it's important. And from teaching an extra class never hurt, I guess, either. But in reality, no. It's important that you understand you might be the most proficient knife wielder in your class that you're taking or whatever, but there's always somebody better. Always somebody better. If you spend any time looking at any video surveillance of defensive situations, attackers, that kind of thing, which it's a rabbit hole, man. You find those things on the internet, it's a rabbit hole. And you start to pick holes in your defensive plan, and you realize that you probably need to prove in certain situations. But it is better to be lucky than good. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't stop training and try to be uh, better at our platforms that we're using. And that also means too, if we're trying to be better, we probably need to be working on our mental capacity too. Maybe read some books. Maybe take time away from work to defrag. Maybe spend some time hiking and out in the wilderness, and trying to unwind. Chandler, who's actually on this live feed, we were talking about unwinding not too long ago, and how important it is uh, for your mental health and your mental clarity to just kind of step out and step back and recharge them batteries. It's important. It's important to be on point at all times. If we're going to be observant and always be looking for danger, we can't be distracted all the time. We need to be able to be efficient in our work and our family life, and then be able to take a break when needed so we can be ready for anything. I guess that includes even going to the gym. I was doing some jujitsu. I haven't done it for a while. That kicked my ass. I'm not gonna lie. Um, was it fun? Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But my gosh, I'm fat. Anyway, I know it's just a short podcast. I appreciate those on the live tuning in. Remember, you can find us anywhere free podcasts are sold. We'd love for you to jump on there and listen to our shows. Maybe throw a review in there and share it with your friends. We're Chandler decided to say, "Let's go, Brandon," which I agree with. Side note: so maybe you guys saw my post, my personal post on Facebook the other day about perhaps leaving a hand colored note at a major fast food franchise, with a sign that said "Let's go, Brandon." My wife was so pissed at me for leaving that at the restaurant. I thought it was hilarious. My kids were embarrassed. Uh, at this, I'm not gonna say what the name of the restaurant is, but at the restaurant, they give you these little 3x5 cards, almost like a recipe card. So I colored my little picture. It was pretty awesome too. It was an American flag with "Let's go, Brandon" embossed on the front of it, and I put it proudly right up front on that little pin board for everybody to see. I'm sure they've taken it down since then. But yeah, my wife, not impressed with my sense of humor. Uh, Honestly, I thought my son would be pretty proud of me, but nah, I'm pretty sure I embarrassed him. So yeah, let's go, Brandon. Uh, yeah, he's a doddering old fool. I'm sorry. He may be the president of the United States, but I don't think he's all there. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I know this is kind of a short episode, with again the Instagram live. If you guys liked it on Instagram, let me know. We'll do this more often. This was kind of a trial run. I've never tried this before. You can email us at podcast@iishooting.com. You can find us on Range Minded Podcast on Instagram or Facebook. Don't forget to follow Nick Hoftac Holsters, the best holsters in my mind. Kydex holsters. He doesn't do leather. Whatever biases you might have against Kydex, it is the official holster for Range Minded Podcast. It's the only one that we use here on the show. Great success. I've had mine for years and years and years, and I recommend it to everybody. Anyway, find him at Hoftac Holsters. I don't get paid to say that, so that was like a free advertisement for Nick. And anyway, make sure you take somebody shooting. Please take a class. Honestly, it doesn't have to be from Independence. Wherever you might be, please take a class, get trained. I know ammunition sucks right now. It absolutely blows to find any kind of ammunition. I actually tried to go find some Saturday. I wanted to go rattle off some 5.56, but I have some. I don't want to use it, so I wanted to go buy some more to go tinker around with, and I just cannot compel myself to spend $25 for 20 rounds of AR. It's ridiculous. If you're hoarding the ammo, would you please stop? It's pissing me off. Seriously. Anyway, take somebody shooting, go shooting, understand your platform. when you're in public, keep your head on a swivel. Pay attention to what's going on. Make a game out of it. Try to boy, I was gonna say try to be kind of incognito as you're walking through the mall. Um, just learn and understand how crowds work. Um, Maybe read a couple books. It's time to be better men and women, I suppose. Better citizens of the United States. And understand your rights and not be quiet about why you carry a gun, or why you love this country. I think we've been silent for far too long, and I think that's why we're at where we're at. Anyways, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Uh, you'll be able to find this if you're on Instagram. You'll be able to find this episode shortly. I'm going to publish it here in a few minutes, um, on Spotify or iTunes, or I think we're even on Google Play. So is that Google Play? One of those. Whatever. You're just look for us. You'll find us. I promise. Anyways, thanks guys. Peace out. Remember who you are and what you stand for. Be safe.